Alright, one more video. Yeah, before I call it a day. And way behind. Big day tomorrow. Busy. But anyway, okay, so I want to get to 2 points. One was Skid Row Radio's comment, which I just found so bizarre. But yeah, I'm just sort of, there's other comments, so it's just, there's a bigger premise here and a bigger argument to be made. And so, yeah, I'm just done with some people here. I'm just done with them for another year or two. I mean, they're too stupid. As I said, 50 million times too stupid. So I am going to get to the social contract thing, because I think that's an interesting subject. Maybe I'll make a Vlogger-Dome subject on the social contract. That's the part of our existence where we pretend to think other people have rights and all this other bullshit. And it's really just a compromise. We just try to protect ourselves from their judgment. They protect themselves from our judgment. It's just some lame agreement. And then we just build some laws on top of it and say this is how we're going to behave. But obviously we see people cheat all over the place and try to get around the game selfishly, because they don't have any agreement on principles. And that's what the bottom line is. It's because we don't agree that we have to have a social contract. But anyway, let's so I made the thought experiment. There's so many ways to do this thought experiment. I'm thinking of Darth Vader ways, just to illustrate how you don't have to do much thinking to understand what a bargain this is. So I basically set up this thought experiment that you take 50 people and you kill them. I don't even care how horrible it is. Make it as bad as you want. Machete them to death. So it's 500,000th as bad as the war the Tutsis had, in terms of the grotesque horror of it, in terms of innocent people killed, and 1/500,000th or something like that, that will undo all the harm in World War II. So all the suffering endured in World War II, the 50 million people killed in World War II. Now, I'm not making any predictions about what kind of asshole they'll be in the future, whether they'll beat their wives, how long it'll take them to die of cancer. I mean, the truth is, some people died in World War II. It was probably the best thing that ever happened to them, because their life was going nowhere, and it was going to suck. And the way most people die sucks so bad that you're always going to be better off if you can get shot somewhere along the way, because getting shot is probably a lot better than dying of some traditional disease. I mean, I certainly much rather, a nice high caliber bullet finish me off in a couple of minutes than the average human death, which is really dismal and horrible. But anyway, that's a whole, let's just ignore that crap. So anyway, it was a simple equation. 50 versus 50 million. Right? I mean, so you have two choices. A world where 50 million people have their skin burned off and all kinds of horrors and orphaned kids and all that shit. And a world where 50 people die. Let's say horribly. You have two worlds. And this asshole is going to give me an argument that there's some complexity here, that I'm supposed to give somebody the right to press the wrong button, to press the 50,000 die button. No, sorry. No sale. It's just too simple, too obvious. Nobody has a right to say, I'm more important than a million people. Nobody. Nobody's worth a million people. It just isn't. I mean, you might be able to make up some kind of bizarre thought experiment and say, okay, there's a special golden person that's going to come up with some sort of perfect drug that's going to solve all problems and make everybody happy forever, blah, blah, blah. But beyond that, and beyond explaining how that person's going to do any of that shit, there's no way you can break this logic. And so he argues with me, the fucking cunt. Well, the question remains, who decides for the 50? Don't they argue the same about Nagasaki and Hiroshima? So here we go. I mean, the calculation for Nagasaki and Hiroshima, you might think it has something to do with saving lives, but we know that's not what it has to do with. All right, it has to do with expedience and no give a damn for the civilian population of Japan. So it was a crime in a lot of different ways. It was a war crime because it was a civilian population mostly. which is a violation of the law, whatever, the war contract. You know, so, you know, it wasn't even a crime against soldiers, but I mean, it's just silly to sit there and make this comparison. But let's say it was true. Let's say that it was actually a fact that Nagasaki and Hiroshima prevented more horrible death. Okay, that's a fact. That the war would have gone on much longer, all this other kind of bullshit. And there was no other way to demonstrate to Japan that the war was over. Okay, that you couldn't blow the top of Mount Fuji off with one of the bombs, or find some other way to demonstrate that you had the ultimate weapon and the game was over, the war was over. Well, I don't even want to get into this. Is just too nuanced to politics. See, so this is the country of this bullshit. You know, to make a comparison, I give you a straight up, easy question. 50 replaces 50 million. 50 for 50 million, and you fuckers still can't just say, yeah, it's the right answer. You know, and you want me to go into a political analysis of the motives and strategies involved with Nagasaki and Hiroshima. The nuances of that question. And this is an asshole who already knows. I find what America did in that circumstance disgusting. And yet he'll throw that in my face. And I'm not supposed to say, you're just being a fucking cunt. Yeah. I know you don't agree with the nukes. My point is, outside the safety of hypothetical, there's going to be very few self-sacrifice situations. Well, again, this isn't about self-sacrifice either. It's pretty much about, we're going to push you through if you don't walk through the door, we're going to push you through the fucking door. You're going to do the right thing. Either do it, stand up like a man, or, yeah, we'll push you through it like a whippy little whiny girl. Yeah, but you're going through the fucking door, shithead. IRL, this discussion would be more often relate to the aggressor's justification for their violence. Yeah, well, I just find it's just such a pile of shit. You know, you take this to some nonsensical extreme, as if everybody's taking, like some rich man is going to enslave 70 million people so he can get a closer shave or something. You know, so you went from 50 people trading 50 million out of harm, and you turn it into this fucking minutia of Stalin or something you're going to bring up next. What next? This is why arguing over hypotheticals is fruitless, in my opinion. Well, I'm sorry. I mean, you have to use examples. So if you think hypotheticals aren't legitimate, then I think you're an idiot. I pretty much think you're an idiot. This comment is idiotic. Your argument is idiotic. Your behavior is idiotic. Fuck you. So anyway, so he asked who would decide, and I said, I will gladly decide. I necessarily won't be glad about it. I mean, that's probably saying too much. I mean, it would be a very difficult decision to decide who gets, you know, fucked. But the point is, you could do it by some random process or whatever. So, I mean, if I wanted to really wimp out, I could just say I'm going to pick people's names out of a hat or something. But yeah, I'll do it. I'll have the blood on my hand, gladly, in the sense that I don't mind being part of something that changes a world from 50 million people suffering to 50 people suffering. That's just too good a bargain. I would love to have my fingerprints on it. You have become 50 million times too stupid. Go away. So I blocked them to help them go away. You know, but whatever. All right. I don't think anything else has to be said. I mean, you can come up with the scenarios that just, you know, you can make it clearer and clearer, but I don't know how to make it any. I mean, I thought that example just nailed it, but I mean, these people want me to get so preposterous in terms of the numbers that you're saying, why, I shouldn't even have to do that, right? And we know that it's no different. I mean, if Darth Vader and me, okay, there's a scenario, there's two worlds, Darth Vader and me. Darth Vader's going to rape, you know, whatever, 50 million women. Or I could rape 50 women. Right? So, I mean, Darth Vader's an evil force, so yeah, evil things do evil things. Or, you know, and I'm a nice guy and I really don't want to do that shit. But the bottom line is, you got to take the deal. There's no way you don't take the deal. It doesn't matter who's doing the raping. It just doesn't matter. And in those situations, there's no question here. So anyway, and some asshole brought up, where's the video with that sound? I should find that comment about this stupid fucking organ donation shit. Oh, really irritating. So that's Heroin Church whining. Who fuck him? Gary, you are in favor of harvesting organs from homeless people and or single people on welfare to ensure other individuals that reduce suffering, make people happy, survive. Well, you know, if you're going to write a thought experiment this fucking badly, no. But it's only because you did this so sloppily. I mean, there's about 7 million questions you didn't answer here yet. Okay, but the truth is, yeah, the bottom line is always going to be the bottom line. So if I have absolute proof, okay, that you can save the life of somebody whose life, by living, is going to save 50,000 people from suffering, and I got the life of some homeless bag of shit on the other side of the scale, yeah, guess what? The homeless bag of shit loses. I mean, frankly, homeless bags of shit probably lose for me already. We probably should just be putting them out of their misery, frankly. You know, I mean, there's no real point in asking me these idiotic, stupid fucking thought experiments when I've already stated that if I had a red button right here that blows the whole fucking planet up, I would fucking press it. I mean, shit. Anyway. If you can demonstrate that killing the homeless person against their will results in less overall suffering by saving lives. Well, again, this saving lives thing isn't going to be too much. I'm not going to be terribly interested in this saving lives thing. All right? So I'm not even for organ transplants anyway. But anyway, it must be done, right? Well, again, see, you give me a thought experiment where the victory is saving lives. I don't want to save lives. I'm not interested in saving lives. I'm interested in eradicating people from burning to death and going through horrors. Saving their life, there's no such thing as saving a life. All you can do is prolong a life. So you got to write a different thought experiment. If the freedom of black gays in the South caused much suffering to whites, should it have been disallowed? If the freedom of blacks gays in the South caused much suffering. Well, I don't know what much suffering is. So that'd be really hard to... Again, you write such bad thought experiments. How the fuck could the liberating of the blacks... I don't know what this gay shit is. What, there was blacks and the gays were enslaved in the South? I don't know. I guess I didn't read that part of history. There was gay slaves. Seems like somebody with a special interest wrote your history book. But anyway, much suffering to whites. Oh, so but not white gays. I don't know. Well, anyway, so again, how you're going to have to explain how liberating the slaves caused suffering that wasn't already built on a suffering gained opulence. So if you're going to say, oh, that was so inconvenient for the terribly rich people to have to cut their salary in half, from squandering 20 grand a week, they had to squander only 10 grand a week. And it was terribly inconvenient. It made them go boo-hoo. Well, you couldn't really make the argument because that whole lifestyle they had existed on was already blood money. So their comfort was already illegitimate, because it was already way too expensive. They should have already been executed for being gluttonous pigs, and the wealth should have been distributed to all the suffering people who were working so hard to provide their opulence. You get it? I mean, they were already taking too much, so this isn't going to work as a thought experiment. It's going to be just completely useless. But let's say there was some possible way that more people would be harmed in the future if you took people out of their slavery. But the harm, again, would have to be real harm. It couldn't be the harm of, oh, my Mercedes, no one's waxing my Mercedes. I mean, that can't be the harm. The harm has to be something not made out of blood money. Well then, yeah, the question is sort of answered. The more harm is all that matters. But I don't think you could write a coherent thought experiment that could possibly explain what that more harm would be. That wouldn't be illegitimate no harm. You know what I'm saying? I mean, you can't come up with a way that the blacks could in any way, through their liberty, cause the whites harm. You just can't come up with a scenario where that works at all. I mean, legitimate harm. Like I say, they should already be executed for being thieves in the first place, for wasting tons and tons of human suffering. So, yeah, you can't do that. Anyway. But just more bullshit. I mean, really, you sit there and point out that all you need to do is demonstrate the principle here, that the value is real, that we can see it. When you paint the damn picture clear, you can see the value. You know it exists. You know what the right answer is if I just make the case extreme enough. And the fact that I have to make them this extreme is just frightening to me, that you people are so preposterously egotistical and self-protective. To do not even concede the point that I have to go all the way up to 50 million to 1 to get you shitheads to concede you're not worth 50 million other people's harm. Because that's the scenario. Again, this isn't about whether, there's no, it's going to happen. They're going to suffer. That's the difference. Those are the two worlds. Worlds where 50 million people suffer, a world where you suffer. And you somehow are having a problem figuring out the moral obligation? I mean, I'm sorry, it stuns me that your selfishness goes that deep. I mean, you'd have to cut it down to like 3 to 1 for me to start feeling a little bit, well, those 3 people are assholes. I mean, where I start to make rationalizations. But on principle, there's nothing here but obvious. And it just, like I said, you people are a huge disappointment. Anyway. But, I've been disappointed before. So to the social contract, sorry, I wanted to get to it quicker. I mean, I did mention it in the other video, but it's worth mentioning again. So the social contract is just a contrivance. It's just something we developed. It has no moral value whatsoever. It has pragmatic value. It has no value as a statement of the truth or as a concession to the truth. It's just a pragmatic concession to this is the only way we can survive. It's like democracy. Of the choices, it's the only one that's viable. All right? It's the only one that's practical. I mean, dictatorship would be great if you could be assured that your dictator was functional. But obviously, if your dictator sucks, then you're fucked, and your boat's going to sink. So it has too high a catastrophic failure rate. So all you got is this democracy thing, which is you're just saying compromise. So the truth is going to get fucked now and then. You know that some percentage of the time the right choice isn't going to be made because it's going to have to be compromised into dysfunctionality. So it's already saying we can't hit it perfect. We're already guaranteeing imperfection because we're conceding we're going to mix 2 conflicting truths. We're going to mix 2 conflicting value statements and definitions and come up with some kind of compromise. Or sometimes we're going to go with one guy's choice that might be the truth, and then sometimes we'll go with the other guy's choice that might be the truth, but then sometimes we're going to go with the other guy's choice and it's going to be bullshit. It's going to be the wrong answer. So we're going to have a certain number of wrong answers decided as law. We're going to have some bad policy imposed as policy, because the truth will get compromised. The right answer will get diluted by the wrong answer, by the wrong belief system. It's like having religious fucktards in your society. They can do nothing but degrade the quality of your governance. They can do nothing but pollute it with bullshit because they have an idiotic ideology based on nonsensical value statements. So they can do nothing but turn your society, corrupt your society, destroy your society, erode your society, dirty your society, take their illogic and shove their illogic into policy. Where what you really would want is a bunch of Aristotle types, thoughtful, disciplined people who, think things to pieces and try to come up with the right answer. So I mean, you could have a compromise that's a compromise between good and great, or you can have a compromise between good and stupid motherfucking cunt religious bastards, or nihilist retards. Yeah, compromising with nihilist retards is no better than compromising with fucking religious kooks, in my personal opinion. So anyway, I mean, these nihilist fucktards can't even figure out 50 to 1. You must be really good in bed. I mean, you really must have one fucking high opinion of yourself if you think you're worth a million other people's suffering. There's some chance that you are. Like I said, I'm vain, but yeah, I can't, like I said, I can't even conceive of it unless we're down to 3 to 1. At 4 to 1, it's pretty much sure thing that I'm going to say, yeah, okay, I'll do the right thing. 3 to 1, okay, I'm going to whine and argue a little. I want to know their credentials. I want to know their education. I want to interview the people. I want to get a little detailed. Because, yeah, maybe I'm better than 3 average people. But I know I ain't better than 50. I know I'm not better than 1 million. I know in a pile of 1 million people, there's just no way my headache is... One headache for me is worth all of them having a headache. I mean, it's just too obvious. Fuck. I mean, you're just stunned. People are... Well, I'm sorry, I'm still stunned. Anyway, I was back on the social contract. So anyway, the social contract is just a pile of bullshit. Like Bullshit Man who loves it. It is bullshit. It's just a concession to compromise. It's a concession to necessity. It just has to do with the fact that we fundamentally disagree on what's valuable, and if we don't have a social contract, if we don't have a little statement of law that says I can't impose on you and you can't impose on me, and we do this whole Jefferson thing, then we'll just end up at war all the time about every fucking thing, and we'll never be able to survive, and we're just constantly trying to whack each other's nuts off. So you have to have a social contract to have a civilization. But the truth is the social contract has nothing to do with anything meaningful in terms of the value, the real value equation, by design. The fact is that some of our policy, some of our law is ethically sound, is reasonable, is sensible, but a lot of it isn't, like not having the right to die. Hugely inefficient, huge waste of suffering. So there's lots of things in the social policy that are terribly corrosive to the welfare of the human being. And there's lots of inequities and unfairnesses, forcing single people to subsidize child bearers, to subsidize people doing something they think is evil. Like religious nuts being obliged, let's say, theoretically, to pay for abortions. I think they should be obliged to, but regardless, it's a violation of their fundamental values. But like I said, I would argue is they should be declared delusional and stupid, and they shouldn't be voting anyway, because they're fucking idiots and retards. I mean, fuck. God says so? I mean, come on. I read it in a book. Oh, fuck. So anyway, what else to say? I didn't do as good a job on this analysis of the social contract as I really wanted to, but I think it's just really important to understand. The social contract is just a contrivance, and the truth underlies it and exists. So the truth is, I could violate the social contract preposterously, and in the end create such a benefit in terms of the result that that's just the fact of it, that I'm right, I did the right thing, I was productive, even though I completely eviscerated the social contract, just blew it up, just completely violated it. The bottom line would be is that I saved or spared people a ton of suffering and did the right thing. So theoretically, like, I could be a vigilante and I could, whatever those movies were, the Bronson movie and whatever the other one was, Death Wish or whatever it was. If I did it right, and I annihilated all the little nasty bits in society just secretly, I just boop, 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 squished them out of existence, violated the social contract, but did the right thing, got rid of all the nasties. The fact is, I could be a tremendously productive human being my life would be tremendously productive to the cause of reducing any wasted suffering, taking friction, the waste out of the system. It's all good. And the fact that I violated the social contract would mean nothing because I did so correctly. The end result answer was correct, therefore the behavior was correct. Unfortunately, that's just what it comes down to. Trying isn't good enough. You have to succeed. This is like the Olympics or something else. Being unlucky isn't an excuse. You either win or you lose. You either get it right or you get it wrong. And the argument is the social contract often gets it wrong. And if somebody violates to improve on the social contract, they got it right, they're going to get the medal. Theoretically, you know what I'm saying, metaphorical medal. They get the medal of having a life that was productive and not being an asshole or whatever the alternative would be. Yeah, that's probably enough. Like I said, I want to do more on this social contract thing just to explain, just to make it clear that the social contract is just there to be a defense against the problem, which is we can't agree on what's valuable. So what we are agreeing on is just not to kill each other. We're making a silly compromise with each other that has nothing to do with the truth. It just has to do with the pragmatic fact that we can't do anything about the truth. So the only thing we can do is agree to maybe argue about the truth, but we can't fight over the truth. Unless there's an official revolution or something, and you have an official war, and then you can fight over the truth. But otherwise, you're restrained and prevented from doing what you know to be right, because we've agreed that we're not going to impose on each other as a pragmatic concession to the fact that we can't exist if we don't do that. Yeah, I already said this. Okay, that's enough. Alright. Yeah, probably enough. But really, just... I shouldn't say I'm surprised. I'm just surprised. I really didn't think... I'm just surprised that this somehow I never ran across this in the arguments I've had with people most of my life. I never ran across people that I think would defend. Well, I can't say that. There are selfish people, but I just wrote them off to being selfish. I didn't know there was this nihilist philosophy. But just weird. I'm sorry. Yeah, I just don't get you people. Bill of Rights, Brutus. Even these screen names, you just say, why would you call yourself that? Anyway, maybe the thing to do is just agree to disagree. Yeah, right. Like that's the way to solve a problem. So he's just conceding again. Agree to disagree is simply just saying, fuck the truth. That's what agreeing to disagreeing is. You're just giving up, saying, fuck the truth. The truth will have to get burned, and we'll just end up with some wishy-washy bullshit compromise. No, well, fuck that. I'll fight for the truth, I think. Simply agreeing that the opposition is more dirt, dumb, stupid than a cat bouncing a mouse around solely for its amusement. Simply agree that the opposition is more... Yeah, okay, well, that's the truth. You're obviously arguing with fruit from the fail tree. Well, it's a nice play on words. Probably going a little further than I would. Specimens from our species incapable of meeting the expectation of Darwin as to any higher animal. Well, I don't know quite what that means, but okay. It isn't a... What is this? Finer than frog hair issue. Man, you got a lot of little wordplay things there. Finer than frog hair. It's straight ahead, full speed fuckwittery. Yeah, it's very poetic. You're doing battle with those who deny the evolution necessary to even think. Well, I don't know if I got that far, but that was another good bit out of this whole thing, right? All these shit videos do have elements that are really valuable. And I think that was one of the arguments in one of my videos, is where I kind of did the thing about the fact that our brain is now owned by our understanding. You know, there's this transition you go through in your life. You live your life from this perspective of a me trying to get somewhere, my desire, my needs, my wants. And slowly, as your information base, your database grows, your knowledge grows, this kind of character thing slips in here. It's this element of understanding logically how the world really works, and how the game is cheating, and how you do have advantages, and how you're blah blah blah, and all that crap. And slowly but surely, intelligence begins to own you. Knowledge begins to own you. Logic begins to own you. And it's now the controller of your brain. And it's basically just screaming at your selfishness, your ape, and it's just saying, no, you sit in the chair, fucker. Okay, I'll tell you when you can come out to play. Okay, but it's not now. I need you when it's, you know, time for the romance or something. Yeah, okay, you got the floor. You know, time to get angry or hysterical about something, trying to scare somebody or something. Fine, okay, pick up a stick and wave it around and yell some crap. Fine, I'll let you loose. But doing anything serious here, no, the brain owns now. And I think that's really I mean, it's important to understand that's what's happening here. Logic that is in the world, the truth that's sitting right out there, the relationships between these things, these relationships between value entities, all of this stuff is out there, and when you put it inside your brain, it will oblige once the logic is set. The logic won't allow illogic to exist anymore inside your head. It will find something illogical to be nonsense and bullshit, and it will force you to kick it the fuck out and say, no, I'm not going to sit there and rationalize, and I'm not going to pretend I'm better than 50 million other people. Something like that. But obviously you have to have enough of this knowledge thing. You have to have this logic thing, the kernel of it all right. If you don't get the bits right, you know what I mean? You got to get the steel right. You got to drill the cylinders the right size. You got to have the piston rings proper tightness, or the engine ain't going to run. And it's the same thing with logic. If you got any garbage in there, you got any pieces that aren't to specifications and they're feckin' wacky like God or some other nihilist bullshit, well, your brain ain't going to work. And you're just going to be cycling. Yeah, it's just never going to turn over. You're never going to become a brain owned by logic. You're just going to be a brain owned by a selfish fuck. Okay, that's enough now. Alright, so yeah, Bill of Rights, Brutus, you did better than your screen name. But it is kind of all kind of cliche, you know, whatever, whippity snippety. You know, it's all this jive talking, yeah, jive talking, something like that. Jive walking, jive something or other. It's all jivey, but it's pretty good jive. Anyway, yeah, I'm done. No comments on this new video yet. It's kind of surprising, right? I mean, it's no comments. I'm not arguing that in the video. Yes. I'm arguing 93 views, no comments. 50-50 on the thumbsies. I wish they showed the down thumbs. I mean, it really would be good to know who's doing that shit. Just so you could say, oh, really? Interesting. I'd like to return the favor. But obviously they're not people who make videos. They really shouldn't let people thumb down videos who don't even make videos. And that's pretty lame, I think. But what doesn't matter. We do, doesn't matter. Yeah, that's a good answer. It doesn't really matter. It's basically irrelevant. Doesn't change what videos I ever watch. I don't know how it changes them in terms of how they're listed, but, you know, obviously it will. Obviously, the keywords just don't matter to YouTube. I mean, you do these searches and they're just full of crap. Mostly. There's some videos here that are pretty interesting. It's me officially. I gotta find out who that is. And such. People have a lot of different accounts.
Hi guys, it's me again.
Hi.
Well, I'm a bit more serious than I was the other day, and
She's kind of English and such. Okay, that's okay. She got this big eye thing going. I like that. Anyway, I'll come back to that later. Yeah, I got a lot of little jerky videos here I probably should watch. This guy complaining. Oh, I gotta talk about anti-natalism again. I don't really want to. Blah, 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 blah.
Hey guys, haven't seen you in a while.
Yeah, whatever.
And it really
guys.
sucks that I'm not to do the video that I'm going to do.
Okay, whatever.
So long. But part of the reason is because there's a lot of content out there on YouTube, and I don't feel comfortable.
I can't hear you.
Repeating things that I've seen other people say, kind of in a slightly different way.
Can't hear you.
I'm more motivated to do a video if it's something I feel that hasn't been really addressed very strongly, and I don't feel like this has been.
I don't think life being a net negative is even an important point of antinatalism. Well, I think the net negative is pretty important. If you really think life has some real potential to do something positive, you know, then you got to grant people their right to an extent. I mean, I still say they can't do the whole imposition thing, but you know, they could program people better. I mean, the Muslims are really good at it, right? Not too many people escape Mohammed. So they certainly could program kids to be life lovers. Increase the odds of them producing a child who would concede to any kind of butt-fuckery. Anyway, doesn't matter. So, yeah, make louder videos, fucker. Well, maybe I'll get around to this video later. I'm just so sick of these glib people. Just so glib. You know, yeah, you have the right to impose your optimism on some new little ball of consciousness and tell it that everything's going to work out okay. Trust me. Why the fuck should it trust you? Why should it have to trust you? Why? Why, you arrogant little putz? Because nature says so? Nature gave you a penis, therefore you think you have a license. It's that simple. You didn't pass the test, you didn't qualify yourself in any way whatsoever, and I bet you still don't have the guts or the balls to write a single paragraph explaining why anybody's selfish ambitions should be satisfied through risking a child. Putting a child at risk for a selfish ambition. God, you people suck. Yeah, fatty face. They suck a lot. People suck and they suck and they suck. Saddy face.